Hello, hello, hello. I'm Robyn.
And I'm Gil, and we are here with you on Rockin the Love in the second Wednesday of January 2024. How is everybody? Assuming we're all making it here.
So, just full disclosure, we are coming to you live today without a producer. Therefore, if you sense Gil a bit distracted and a bit out of sorts, and the fact that he's staring at his screen, it's because he's trying to do two things at once, which admittedly he is not the best at. So,
Oh,
this is
now.
Rockin the Love, and we are a married couple, which I'm sure you will detect during the show. Uh, we live separately right now, part time apart, and I am in California, and Gil is in New Mexico, and we are all about rocking the love and relationships to everything. So
Indeed. And they're everywhere, aren't they?
they are
Gosh,
everywhere.
even in the places you don't expect them or want them, even. They show up. You've
I
always
feel
got
like
to figure out how you relate to other things.
you have our look different than Michael does.
Maybe I do. I put up our little beach scene in the background.
Oh, got it. That would be nice to be at a little beach somewhere.
Wouldn't it though?
Mm,
Yeah.
it would be. So today, what's our topic?
Our topic is, I didn't write it in. I wrote it on the thing. Um, it it is um, closing off 2023 and opening to 2024.
Okay, and I'm sure we had a better title than that.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure, but that's the idea.
So yeah, so I don't know about you, but I feel like it's taken me a longer time to get into 2024 than it has in other years. I think part of it is because I was traveling and I was with you. I was in New Mexico, and so I wasn't back in the groove of things like the second week in January, like just jumping right in. But it just seems this year just seems harder to get into it. How do you feel?
Hmm. I actually I feel pretty much um, that it's flowing. It's flowing. It's interesting. I can understand that though because you were like in some ways away from some of the stuff you would have done, and so that would shift it. But um, I got to do and be a part of things that were kind of for my normal stuff. But I think the thing with 2024 for me is that I want to do it differently. So that's the that's the rub, if you will, on getting started in 2024.
Because you want to do things differently.
Yes,
Now, how's that going for you?
it sucks. It's,
All righty. Okay, so we're all about honesty here and transparency. So who knows what you may encounter in today's show? Okay. Um, all right. Well, we're going to get to that in the second in a while. But before that, how was your week?
my week was very good. We had a good time. I think I enjoyed it having you here, and we had a great couple of things over the weekend that were just really powerful and wonderful, and I really enjoyed it. And I really didn't want you to go home. I
Oh,
know you wouldn't know it, but it's true.
hmm, okay. Welcome, Shay. We see you out there. Yeah, well, yeah, it's been an interesting week. I mean, I feel like I've only been home 2 days, and not like I said, nothing seems real. I mean, timing just seems unreal, and um, I don't know. Nothing seems real. I'm not settled in yet. I don't feel anchored anywhere, which is interesting. I mean, it was good with you, and it was fun, and all of those things, but I don't feel anchored there, and I don't feel anchored here, and so I'm wavering. I'm unanchored. So
Oh no. Actually,
it
that was
is.
what I put in the title, was anchoring our 2024.
There you go.
Or
So
somewhere I
that's
wrote that anyway.
yeah. So that my week has been. I mean, it's been interesting. My Spirit Airlines flight was good, which was good
That's good.
because that was my biggest concern of last week. Um, but like I'm all into it now. I'm like, oh my god, the flight from Vegas to San Diego is like 44 minutes. I'm like, oh my god, I could go there for the day. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so that was good. I mean, and Spirit's fine. You just have to know what you're dealing with, you know.
Right. That's the thing that I got as we were going through the process was, okay, if you know what you need to do and you know you don't need to have stuff with you, or you know exactly what you need and what you're going to bring, you can figure it out. But otherwise, whew, it's
Yeah.
annoying.
No, you just have to be prepared. You just have to be prepared. And we weren't. I mean, it was a surprise that I was going to take that flight. And I mean, the good thing is it was no big deal to leave clothes with you and whatever.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but yeah, it was fine. And definitely I felt really hopeful that, like, yeah, I could go see you for the weekend. It's no big deal, with this kind of price. And yeah, it just opened up a whole new world of possibilities.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
especially in the summer when you don't actually need any clothes with you. I mean, so few. Everything's light.
Right. All right. I think it's time we get to the good news. Shay, if you're out there and you want to comment, we're talking about how's the year been for you? Is it easy getting back
He's out
in,
there.
in sync, in sync with life? Um, okay, so good news. This is our segment where we talk about what's good in the world because, as you know, it's easy to find all the things that are not good or that you want to change. There's a lot of good happening out there. So tell me what you got.
All right. Well, as we often do, we talk about the animals of the world and the pets of the world. And I have a little story about a dog in Pennsylvania. He likes to dig, but he made it a point to dig in a particular spot. And then he kept going back to the spot and digging deeper and deeper. And his owner finally got the idea that something was going on, and they were able to detect that there was a major gas leak underground, and that it had actually gotten to the point where it could have been extremely dangerous.
Wow.
Um, and they were, they brought in the right people to take care of it, and emergency vehicles and all that kind of good stuff, and got it figured out and replaced it. And it was because the dog wouldn't let it go.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
So I thought that was kind of interesting. We think we don't, we think they're random, these animals. you know, they act somewhat randomly. But they don't necessarily, that's for sure.
Well, but not only that, I go back to principle and what we believe, and we say we're all one.
Right.
And then we're so surprised when this stuff happens. So it's like, it's interesting every time to me to just, like, there's times when those kind of stories surprise me. And there's times when I'm
Hmm.
like, well, duh. Like, of course. So it's just interesting to live into that oneness, so to speak. So my story is about a man who died. I decided to do a story a little stuck in last year since I'm a little stuck. I thought, if not now, when? So, a man who died, and he was 87 years old. His name is Ken. And when he died, his family found um, a bag of Christmas gifts for a little girl on the block to open for the next 14 years worth of Christmas presents. So she has been opening Christmas presents for 6 years now. She doesn't, I mean, she is little, so she didn't even remember, but every year they tell her the story about how he passed away when she was 5. And just tell him the stories to keep his spirit alive. And every year she opens a new present. Last year she got some books. This year she got another set of books. Another year she's gotten a train and different games and things like that. And it's just a beautiful way, really, of keeping his spirit alive. And I guess this man was just so sweet. And one year he bought her a big lion, and the kid saw it and liked it so much, he went back and bought these big giant stuffed animal lions for all the kids on his block. And so it's just a sweet story about, I think also thinking beyond, when we're here and being able to continue to affect lives,
Yeah, that makes me think. That's a cool story.
Yeah. And an interesting way also to get to know your neighbors, right? And to just continue. I mean, it's just different ways of connecting, So I just thought it was a beautiful story. So, as you can tell already, Gil is very preoccupied with whatever he's doing.
Trying to move? The computer doesn't agree with me. That's part of my problem.
We're just going to apologize right here, right now, for any guffaws that happened during this show. But we'll be back and we'll talk with Shay, and we see Wayne out there and many of you out there. Put in the chat, anything you're holding on to, how the year's been, getting back into the swing of things. And we will be back in a minute right here after these thoughts on New Thought Media Network.
Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hepperlin Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Spiritual Center, Kitchener, Om Center for Spiritual Living, La Mesa, Satya Center, Center for Spiritual Living, North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and Center for Spiritual Living, Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for making New Thought Media Network a place to be. Please come be you. And remember, like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring. New Thought Radio. Music from all your favorite New Thought artists. From Jamie Lula, Karen Drucker, Gary Lynn Floyd, Ricky Byers, Daniel Nahmod, Eddie Watkins Jr., and many, many more. 24/7 New Thought Radio. Positively inspiring.
Hello,
And
everybody.
back.
We're back. I'm Gil,
And I'm Robyn.
and we're both preoccupied. How do you like them apples? All right. Well, this is Rockin the Love. We are having a fun time today talking about moving from one year to the next and feeling settled and moving forward. What do you say?
I say let's do it. So
Okay.
go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, we were just, talking about this idea that, how it feels to sort of work into something, into a new year, into the process of shifting. And there's some level, there's so much pressure on it's a new year and it's different and everything's supposed to be new and exciting, and doesn't always feel that way. And it doesn't always feel like we fully make it from one place to the next. So we thought we'd talk a little bit about what there is, what some of the things are around, what are we celebrating and taking with us into the new year, and what are we kind of claiming and moving forward to.
I'm going to share with you a quote, a Joseph Campbell quote. We must be willing to get rid of the life we've planned so as to have the life that is waiting for us. The old skin has to be shed before the new one can come.
Ah, indeed. Indeed.
Right?
And it can't come off too soon either.
There's
I
too many rules.
Well, I just mean, sometimes sometimes we're insistent that something has to happen right now. And, we know from our bodies that when you peel something back and it's not quite ready to go, it creates an issue. So sometimes it's about working into the timing of it all, being accepting of the process.
Right.
But you still have to be willing to go through it. And you can't try to hang on to the old stuff.
Right. And I think that Shay actually brings up a good point there. She's processing a major amount of shit and is experiencing periods of great relief, ready to let go of the past and move gracefully into the new year. Grateful while I'm growing through it all.
Yes, indeed. I hear you, Shay. Yes.
Yeah, and I think that's a interesting. I mean, yeah, it's interesting to break it down, right?
Yeah. Well, and to really look at what is it that I'm letting go of, and what is it that what part of it do I want to take with me? What's the stuff I want to just amplify in my life? I don't want to, whenever we make change, we don't want to throw everything away. We want to figure out what served us and move it forward and allow it to show up again.
Yes, and I think that that becomes why, or I mean, and so why now? Because it's a new year. Like why? How is this process not? I mean, this process should be ongoing. It's not like, oh, okay, I don't know. There's something weird about that to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I typed a quote into the banners, which kind of addresses that. And it's the idea that it becomes interesting for me because I focus on markers in my life. And so when I'm focusing on those markers, then if it doesn't, if the change or the process or the thing that I want to move doesn't happen, then I can feel defeated and not move forward because I have to wait till the next time. And I think you're absolutely right. Every day, we talk about it all the time. Every day is new. Everything is new. Every time we wake up, it's a completely new day. And yet it's so easy to fall back on the excuse that, well, I already missed the opportunity, so I just have to go with the flow here until I get back around to it.
So are you wanting me to put this banner up?
Sure, you can put it up if you want. It's kind of an affirmation around that idea. I accept today as my new beginning. I haven't missed the opportunity. I no longer wait for next year to empower myself to shift. And that's my thought around it. So that's my thought about moving into this year, is that it's an opportunity to continue moving forward every day rather than at the new year, if you will, or my birthday,
Right.
kind of stuff.
Those marker kind of times.
Those marker times. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. And John says there's an interesting word, should. Well, you know the saying.
Yes, we do.
Michael says, don't shit all over yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And Shay says, it's ongoing and it has come to a head because I'm fortified in God and in my community. So it's safer for it to come up to be healed. Yeah, it's intense and that's okay. Yeah.
I think that's a really major recognition, Shay, that we have to not only, we have to be ready, whatever that is, for things to shift. And so whether it's having the right support system around us, whether it's having the ability to acknowledge our part in it or whatever it is, we have to have the right conditions in order for things to change. And yeah, it's so great when we realize that, okay, I feel supported enough to actually really face this stuff, to really move forward.
Yeah. And John says, I feel your shift, Shay. Good to hear your change and feel it too. Yeah. I agree with you. I think, I don't know. I just find it so interesting, like that, because what happens for me is then like already, so, I don't make New Year's resolutions really or whatever, we have a little bit of clarity. We say what we're going to do for our year or whatever. But then like, immediately, like, just being transparent about everything. It's like, our theme is living our life like it's golden. And, the minute you and I have a disagreement, I'm like, well, that's pretty friggin' golden, the way you're handling that, and then it just makes me feel like, all right, so it's already failed. It's already bullshit.
Wow.
The whole thing goes to me. I mean, I go back to our wedding vows and still there's things that we don't do that we said we were going to do. And that makes me crazy. I can't so it's like, how does one stay in integrity with one's word when they're in relationship? Because so I'm gonna share a quote that struck me just for myself, which is from Pablo Picasso. Only put off until tomorrow what you're willing to die having left undone. And I think that's super powerful, because it's like, we don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Clearly the man didn't wait until tomorrow to to figure out what gifts he wanted to have ready for that girl.
What does that mean?
Because if he had waited until tomorrow, he wouldn't have been here to get the gifts and wrap them and have them ready to go.
Oh, the man in my story. I thought you were
Yeah.
talking about Pablo Picasso. I was like, wait, what? Yeah. 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 So
And I think that is a great way to remind us of how important it is that every moment is new, because every moment gives us the opportunity to re-engage, restart, whatever. Does that make sense?
yes.
And I think with that, sometimes it's a lot of times it's the willingness to do the restart. It's the willingness to let go of whatever it is that's in the way. It's a lot about willingness.
Well, yes. Yeah. I mean, I guess everything is, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's a lot about surrender. I mean, it's a lot about the unknown. It's a lot about not knowing and not, like you're very logical and you like to know, you like to understand why and all of that. And I'm very, I don't know, the other way. I don't know why. I don't know. But I mean, there's a level at which I can surrender all a little easier than you, because it's like, okay. Does that make any sense? I feel like I'm talking in code.
Well, it makes sense. I mean, even your description of the difference, you had a very clear description of mine, but yours you couldn't even define, because it's not important to you. You know what I mean?
It's ever changing. It's not that it's not important. It's just, it's ever changing. It's in the moment. How can I define something? If I define something, it's out there, and then it's not authentic to the moment.
Ooh. True.
I don't know. I mean, this is just coming up in the moment, obviously, but yeah. So it's I can't, and you say that a lot to me. Last time you said da 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 da, or last week your favorite thing was da 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 da. Well, yeah, that was last week. But if hot chocolate's your favorite thing, then why isn't it your favorite thing this week? I don't know, because it's not. I don't know why. But I mean, I can't, don't box me in. You can't be boxed in. It's just not authentic for me. I'm not saying for anyone else.
So how do we move through life? How do we shift from one year to the next without boxing ourselves in, and yet without totally forgetting or glossing over the things from the year before that we need to let go of, the things that we need to be honoring of for ourselves, those kinds of things.
Good question. And let's just check in with John here. John says he's cleansing his home, and as he releases things he's had for years, it's funny and strange and more. As I finally let it go, do we do the work when we are finally ready? And in my own self, I've made peace with some of the ways I have that can be frustrating for a beloved in relationship. I offer acceptance to my beloveds as they are, so maybe it's good I don't have to be perfect.
Oh no, John, it is not good. It is incredibly fantastic that we do not absolutely have to show up as perfect, because none of us would make it. That being said, the other side of it is figuring out how to accept ourselves as perfect.
Well, that's the
even
whole
in the
thing.
midst of it.
Yeah. That's the whole thing. And I mean, I know it sounds woo-woo to say, but you are perfect. But you are perfect. I mean, but it is perfect. And every every time you and I have um, a hiccup in our relationship, I'm being very mild.
And generous as well.
Uh-huh. Then I think, okay, obviously there's something for me to learn here. I'm here to learn something. I'm here to learn something. I just wish that you would learn something as well. Oh, sorry. Okay, just having a moment with myself. No, but you know what I mean? It's like it's and that's the part of the problem. So Gil and I, when we have, I don't know if we really fight, but when we have what would you call it? A thing.
Moment.
Yeah, when we have a moment, where we're not in sync, um, it usually really sucks because we're really usually in sync. And so when we have a moment where we're out of sync, then it's he shuts off and I do whatever I do. I don't know, you can say whatever I do, but I mean, and so there's no like real communicating, whereas I want to communicate and get to a place. I don't care if we're happy at the end of it, but I want to hear, some kind of resolve around, I hear you and I understand how you're feeling, and I don't know. And we don't we don't get there. Why are you laughing?
and I honor your convoluted thoughts with love. We'll talk tomorrow. But I was thinking when you talked about well, I don't even know now. But what it struck me was that I sometimes don't feel like I can process at all, that I can do anything.
I get
I feel like I'm stuck, and I feel like everything just makes it feel harder. Any new information feels harder. Any new, I feel this way and that was, it's like, yeah, okay. Somewhere in my head, I think I know all that. I don't know if I think I know it. It's just that all it does is make me feel worse about it, and so I can't do anything.
Yeah, and John says, I find pain hard when I open to change or being authentic, and sometimes it's overwhelming.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
no kidding. No kidding. Um, yeah, this whole thing of being alive is fascinating. It's exciting, it's wonderful. There's so many things to learn, and there's so many things to learn that aren't, you know, um, super fun. They require some shift, and yet all of them, even as Shay has shared in part, all of them bring us to a place of goodness, if you will, when we ultimately get through them.
Yeah.
That the pain of dealing with whatever, the fear of confronting whatever, once it's done, it's a whole different ballgame. Anchoring into 2024, that's the name of our show, by the way.
Nice.
I just read it up there at the top. We probably could have read that before. It's kind of like the keys.
Oh, thank you, Wayne. Thank you for sharing.
Oh my.
Anyway,
Okay.
yeah, I think well, what happens, one of the things that happens, I mean, I think it's very, what you said, John, is so true, and I think men feel that way more, and I'm generalizing. Yes, I'm going to Shay's thinking of men are from Mars, women are from Venus, but there's there's definitely real differences, and whether it's male, female, or whether it's love languages, or whether it doesn't matter where you're going to chop it up, different ways to handle things. And I think I get that it's scary and it's overwhelming, and I get in that moment what I need is to know that you're there and you're present and you're available, and and that it's okay, you love me. I mean, it's like, in some ways it's what you want all the time. I'm sorry, you, the stereotypical you, but that you live into this pattern a lot of you're the man, and that being the taking care person. And so it's that moment where I go, okay, take care, take care of me, just say, gotcha. You know what? I can't process right now, babe. And, I love you. And, we'll get through this or whatever, something that acknowledges, instead of just shutting off. Because for me, then when you shut off, it gets like scary and I don't know.
Yeah. 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 Well, and I think that's what prompted what I wrote down about the thing of being willing to not giving myself permission to throw things aside and avoid them because I missed the opportunity to fix it. Not fix it, but to deal with it and continue to notice that there's another opportunity right now to make a different choice, if you will.
Yeah. And that's kind of what John's talking about too, saying that he recently found he's pulling away from people who love him, and that's unhealthy, and asking for strength from spirit when he feels unacceptable or unlovable. And he says he does not have a clue how to be an adult.
Oh, yes, indeed.
But that, I think that's part of the thing. Like, and I think, and actually bringing it back to our topic of it, taking it into the new year, I think, do we have a clue? Do we have a clue about any of it? So it's like, excuse me, all we can do is take it step by step, right, into the new year. So, okay, I'm going to get over the fact that we're using the new year as a marker. It's the marker. How do we let go of whatever didn't serve us in the past year and bring it forward? And how do we move it forward? I have to cough now, so you have to talk.
Okay, very good. Thank you. So, yeah, how do we let go of it? How do we move it forward? Obviously, that question is one that shows up, but I sometimes think we have to let go of it or move it forward in some kind of perfect way. And so if we don't see the perfect way to do it, then we avoid beginning the process or taking a stab at it, if you will. And I think it's got something to do with personalities and stuff. You always know there are those people that I mean, they have an idea and the next day they've already, gone out in the backyard and built half of it, kind of thing. And part of that's because they're not afraid to make a mistake. I mean, by the next day I've studied a few things online, looked up some things, and but there's nothing there. Now,
but by the next day, I've exhausted myself that it's too much work and I should just let it go.
Right. Yes, that's true. Yeah. And it's not even though that looking up ideas and researching and all that stuff is not valuable, because it is. And sometimes it is the work that's being done. And sometimes we don't give ourselves credit for the work that's being done. I guess that's another way. Sometimes we see other people, and because we can see what they're doing, what their results are, we think somehow those results are more important than the results we can't see. And I think that's part of our learning to be gentle and loving with ourselves, is to remember that not all the results are on the surface. Not all the stuff that shifts is right out there for everyone to take stock of.
Right.
And Shay says there's no perfect way. It's messy. I let God heal me, whatever that looks like in any moment. It's intuitive. Yeah. And getting to the place where we can listen to that intuitive portion of us, that's some work. I mean, and I just have to congratulate you that you can listen to the intuition, because I'm guessing that there was a time when you didn't, certainly not very well. And I think that's true of many of us.
I think that's true.
Yeah, give it a shot. Do something as opposed to nothing. I think, John, I agree with that. And I think at the same time, it's honoring what we do. It's honoring our own process. And it's not allowing ourselves to get away with not doing anything because we have a good excuse. You know, it's a balance. It's a balance. You know, my excuse is I just don't work like that. That's not the way I function. Yeah, I'm going to go back to bed and take a nap.
So Shay says it's not about resisting in any way. Not easy, but
it's about not resisting in any way. So living in a state of non-resistance.
Yeah.
So what is our natural state? Do we naturally resist? I mean, is that a general humanity kind of thing? Is that a man or woman thing? Is that a just mind issue? You know, that tendency to like to resist, push back, and then create something that's more of an issue than it was before because of my resistance.
Shay says, yes, we resist.
Yes, we do. John says my issue too. Yeah.
Well, but when does that start? Because we don't do that as a child. So there's a point in our life where we think we know better, or we think we need to be safer, or we think we need to do it a different way. Because there was a point where somebody would say, you know, come on, let's go jump in that big pile of dirt. And we go, okay. You know, or come on, let's do something fun. Okay. You know, and we didn't, but now if somebody says, okay, let's go do something fun, we're like, yeah, I really should get some work done. I really should. I don't have time right now. I don't have enough money, whatever, you know? So when does that start? And where, I mean, I think that's a really interesting place to start to become aware of.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what an opportunity in a new year to just make an intention to not allow resistance be our first response. You know, when resistance shows up, stop and go, well, what is that about? Is this really, you know, is this healthy, helpful resistance, or is this just BS resistance?
Yeah. And Shay says that, it's about surrendering. And so, I think it's about surrendering. And I think also, I mean, I think what you just asked, I think if we can be aware, I think awareness is key. I don't think it's so much about changing everything right away. It's not like, oh, it's a new year, we've got to do this, this, and this. I think it's being aware, just being aware of what comes up and our stories and our first reactions. And I want to welcome Ronald Williams out there. Peace and blessings, Ronald. Good to see you. Nice to have you here. So, what are you doing, Gil?
I'm just thinking. I'm doing what you do sometimes. I'm lost in thought. I think there's so much possibility here, you know, and it's so much easier to give all of this permission to others than it is for me to give this permission to myself. And so I just acknowledge that, because I'm guessing other people have the similar feeling sometimes. that sometimes it's so much easier to see, to see in someone else where the resistance is popping up, and or where it's maybe not really reasonable or necessary or whatever. But in myself, I don't see it the same way always. It takes a lot more intention to decide that I'm going to be open to examining my own self in the same ways I'm able to observe and examine others.
Right. Right. So, but I think, for this week, I think what I'm feeling is we should really just go with the word. And I think for me, the word is awareness, and just really like just being aware in every situation. Like, I know Shay's dealing with her own situations. John's dealing with, living with an aging parent and other situations. And like, really just taking, those things that have become normal to us, how do we, and you and I in relationship, res- how do we stop and just pay attention to what our first reaction is before we react?
Ah,
I think
yes.
having the awareness to go, oh, look at what's coming up. I want to say, no, I can't go. I have too much to do. And stopping and going, pulling a Byron Katie and being like, hold on, is that the truth? Is that the truth, or is that my reaction? And maybe my reaction is, no, I don't want to do it because I don't like it or whatever. But then that should be a different response so that the question isn't always asked again.
Right. And so, and I think also, at some level, we just get used to reacting rather than acting. And so we react to something because of whatever it touches in us, or whatever we haven't dealt with, or whatever's going on, instead of actually acting in the moment to do something that will continue to move us forward in our life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what you're talking about, is that stop and notice what's coming up. And is that just simply a reaction, or is it really the action that you want to take? Is it really the way you want to go?
Right. Very true, Shay. Forever Michael Beckwith said, it's an acquired taste, this spiritual work.
Yep.
It is that. It is not for the weak at heart.
No, it does make life wonderfully better. But the getting there is not, it's not full of milkshakes and French fries. It's not all feel good, super duper stuff, but it ultimately is so freeing and so incredibly powerful to be able to sit here and talk about some of the stuff we've talked about. That is freeing, to be able to acknowledge where I screw up, where I don't do it. It's a gift to be able to move to that place, as quickly as I do, even though it's not as fast as you'd like it.
Well, no, and I think, John has brought up before, I know we talked about this last week, that, when I say to him, that's just not the way that I would do it. And that one comment is really, it's just, it's a learned behavior, because when I go to that place of, that's just not the way I would have done it, it's a learned thing to take myself out of whatever is really going on and be able to look at it as a observer, and
Right.
so I think in relationship, the same thing, like where you shut off, or where I get needy or, whatever, like, can we take ourselves out of the behavior? Like last night when we had this conversation and Gil was trying to get off the phone with me and I wasn't letting him. And, when we finally, I said, I can get you off the phone. And I, said whatever I said to get the information I needed. And then I was fine. Was I happy? Was I content? Did you soothe my heart? No, but I had the information I needed. So, I mean, to me, in those situations, it's about giving each other what we need as well, even though we don't want to. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And that's part of that getting out of, that's not the way I would have done it. Takes us out of the place of evaluating it and just observing it.
Right.
So when we go, that was stupid. I don't like the way you did that. That now we've evaluated it. Now we've decided it's good or it's bad or it's ugly. But if we can just go, that's different. What do I do with that? How can I support that? How can I, show up in that?
Right. So, so for this week, I say hold on to just an awareness. I mean, I think Shay has spoken so beautifully about, what's gone on for her and her awarenesses now. John, everybody who speaks on the show talks about their movement, and their awareness of where they are now and what that's like. And so I think it's just the continued awareness. And then you, if you can be aware of it, you then have the ability to change it.
Right. When we don't even realize what we're doing, we don't have any options because we're just acting automatically.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, we have the options, but we don't realize we have the options. It's probably more accurate. We don't see them at all.
Yes. So I'm going to leave you with this quote. Although no one can go back and make a brand new start, anyone can start from now and make a brand new ending.
Who said that? Carl Bard. Wow.
And I think that's what we're talking about, because in every moment we can have a different outcome. Again, I'm going to go with awareness for the week. What's your word for the week?
Acceptance.
Good one. Mindfulness from Shay. John, what's your word out there? Wayne, is love on our planet.
That's a good word.
Love is always a good word, everybody. And so if you're joining us today for the first time, please come back. We would love to have you. And just stay awake and aware out there. John says he feels hope. Hope is a good word too. It's all good. We really can make it all good. Not in a woo-woo denial kind of way, but in an awareness kind of way. Oh, Wayne's got a new word, strength.
All right. That's a good word.
Thank you, everybody. So we're sending you all of that strength and hope and love and mindfulness out there, and just take it out into your week. Stay awake and aware and accept that you are right where you need to be, and keep rocking the love, everybody.
Rock on.
Oh, right.